Joe and I agree that there is value on the Indianapolis Colts to have the worst record in football at 45-1. Now, if you don't think that they will finish with the worst record because you're a Bears fan, then the question is, do you think they will hit their 7.5 win total? And if you believe they will go under, then you are getting plus money, and I see plus 116 at last check. And there may be some temptation by some folks to take the over here because they have 2 wins already, and they look like they could very well win this division, given Jacksonville sputtering and the Titans and the Texans, etc. But here's my question for you, Joe. I think there's this assumption that every single team in football is trying to make the playoffs and trying to win their division, go to the Super Bowl, all that stuff, that everybody has the same goals. I wonder, though, if the Colts have different goals, because right now they have a backup quarterback in there who did win a game for them on Sunday, and I don't know how long Anthony Richardson will be out for, but it seems to me that for the health of the Colts, it is way more important to figure out what you have in your rookie starting quarterback than it is to just try and win as many football games as possible. Like, if Gardner Minshew does go on a bit of a run here, or at least plays well enough for the Colts to be in contention, I don't know if that should matter here. I think Anthony Richardson should still come back whenever he is ready. And if that's the case, then, okay, they might be sacrificing some wins because of that decision. But I think for the long-term health of the franchise, that is the better approach. And so, therefore, I'm likelier to take the under 7.5 because for the long term of the franchise, it's the better play.
Oh, 100%. I wouldn't even consider going over 7.5, laying a price here with the Indianapolis Colts. Like, look, the way that they're probably looking at it is, all right, we got our coach. I love our coach, Shane Steichen. Okay, we think we got our franchise quarterback. We'll find out if we have our franchise quarterback. But we're also going through this period right now. Jonathan Taylor's about to leave. He's going to come back, and we assume he's going to play the rest of the year. But after this year, it's done with Jonathan Taylor. It's done. Like, they need to surround, for them to win long-term, Richardson with great weapons. And they've been looking for that number one receiver, in every single draft, it feels like, since Marvin Harrison left, right? So they're going to need to find that. They're not going to go back to rebuilding that offensive line, which was a strength not too long ago. They're going to get back to that and put Richardson in a great position to succeed. So they don't believe that, at least my thinking is, that the Colts aren't thinking, okay, Richardson's just going to lift us up and we can win an awful division and off we go to the top of the AFC. Like, they understand this is going to be a bit of a process. Steichen's safe. So there's not a brand new head coach. There's not going to be any heat there, but everybody seems to love the guy. At 7.5, I think you're right. I think that's an underplay and underplay only. And that win that Minshew did get, like, that was his first win in a very long time. I think he had a 1-11 record. I know we don't do quarterback record, but just pointing that out, that he wasn't winning games until that big surprise that we saw over the weekend. Let's talk about some unders. Some that I wrote down, see if anything jumps out. We were just talking about the Titans. What about the Titans number? They start 1-2. They get trounced by Cleveland over the weekend. They've got the Bengals next, Ravens in a couple of weeks. The Titans number 7.5. I would only consider they can't do anything on offense.
Right.
Yeah.
And the defense is spotty. And
Bad
Derrick
pass,
Henry, like, he'll get better. I think the rushing attack will get better. That's probably the one thing that concerns me. But 7.5 still seems like a high number. Like, if we're 6.5, 5.5, then you have to go over there. But 7.5, I think, is just a little too much. But at minus 110, I think it's okay as a play, but it's not one that I love.
The Bears, I don't know how they get to 6 wins. The number's 5.5. They're not getting to 6 wins, guys. I'm telling you. I don't. If they don't perform again on offense, like, the conversation is happening right now about benching Fields. And I know people overreact, but I also hear it nationally. It's not just a local thing. Right now, people want to know. Tell you what, if they don't put up at least 20 on the Broncos, who just gave up 70 points, like, that might be happening. GM didn't bring him in. President didn't bring him in. Like, there's going to be a lot of changes here.
I looked at the Bears too. It is juiced, but my thought was like, this is a situation where you're not getting a great number, but I'm very confident it will hit, and I'm comfortable paying a price.
They'd have to go to lose the bet. You got to go 6-8 the rest of the year.
It's not happening.
That's not happening. I promise you, that's not happening. They played the easy games already.
Miami, fresh off of scoring 70 points. They are now 2.5-point underdogs to the Buffalo Bills. How do you see this game playing out?
I'm going to stay away from the spread in this one. Kind of an interesting little nugget, though. This is the smallest home favorite the Bills have been in 22 games. You have to go back to a playoff game versus the Ravens a couple seasons ago. It's a pretty significant drop from their matchups at home versus the Dolphins last season. Of course, they were favored by 14 in the wild card game where Skylar Thompson had to start, and 7 in a Week 15 snowy weather game, you might remember. Miami kept both of those games close within 3 points. But my best bet on this game, I love the over here. It's the highest total of the week at 53.5. And you take a look at what these teams have done each season. Miami probably the best offense in the league. Buffalo in the top 5. They've combined to score, 36 or more points in 4 of their 6 games so far this season, each among the top of the league in obviously yards per play, third down, red zone touchdown conversion percentage, whatever stat you want to look at. They've both been fantastic. Neither of these defenses has really been challenged either. Some bright spots on each defense for sure, but you take a look at the Bills. They played the Jets, the Raiders, the Commanders. Dolphins played Broncos, Patriots. When they played a good offense against the Chargers, they got lit up. They allowed 34 points, over 400 yards, I think it was. And look at what they did last season. The 2 games in Buffalo in winter weather conditions. Supposed to be a nice day in Buffalo on Sunday. They combined for 61 points in one game and 65 in the other. The 65 game, it was Skylar Thompson at quarterback for the Dolphins. So, yeah, highest total of the week. I don't think it's high enough. Give me the over on that one.
Does anything pop? As you're considering that, I'll throw some teams at you that we were discussing. The aforementioned Jets were in that conversation. I was looking at coaches that are kind of safe with younger quarterbacks maybe. You just mentioned the Titans. Titans at 31-1. The Colts are 45-1. Steichen's safe. Richardson's going to be back out there. What do you think? Any teams that have a win or two that you think can enter this conversation this year?
Yeah, I think Mike Vrabel probably is too good of a coach to allow it to happen, and they do get a couple games, against Houston, against the AFC South. That is, of course, still one of the the poorest divisions in the sport. So probably not them, but it's probably a good value bet because I think Mike Vrabel being a good coach and their recent results probably boost the value for the bet there. And on paper, their talent is about as bad as any team in the NFL. They really need to just overhaul this roster and just hit the reset button. So that's probably my answer there, even though, I don't expect it because of how good the coaching is, but probably the best value bet on the board.